My best ideas come from meditation. The things I need to do that day come from meditation. Um,
How
so
would you
really,
how do you weave it into your morning routine? Like, you get your morning, you go to the bathroom, get your
What is
coffee.
your morning routine? I love
Yeah,
hearing like people who are successful and people love to have like the way you start off your morning is so
it's
beautiful.
so
So
key.
it's
yeah.
fun that you're here and you can tell us a little bit about what you do with your morning routine.
The first thing I do is I have a water bottle, like a 20 something ounce water bottle next to my bed. And this is something I just started doing recently because I read something that as you age, you start to dehydrate at a faster rate and
Mm,
you start to lose the sense of when you're thirsty. Like your
Mm.
sense of thirst is not as keen as it is when you're younger. So you may not even know you're thirsty and dehydrated. So I'm not a big water drinker. I never have been. I'm trying to, another thing that's always on my list of resolutions. So I now drink first thing, um, one full like liter of water
I
in the
love
morning.
that.
And then I do a prayer called Ho'oponopono. I don't know if
Oh
you're familiar
yeah.
with
We
Ho'oponopono.
haven't actually talked about that on
mm,
here. Will you share what that is?
please.
Yes, yes. It is a Hawaiian prayer, and I've learned about it even when I worked on Wall Street. I had heard about it. I had read Joe Vitale's wrote a book called Zero Limits, and he was homeless at one point, and then he discovered Ho'oponopono, and it, you know, got him not only out of poverty, but now he's super successful, millionaire kind of thing. But
Mm,
the story is the there was a prison in Hawaii of like criminally insane, prisoners, and they life sentences. They were never getting out, and the
mm,
attrition rate of the staff was just very high. No one would like to come to work because it was extremely dangerous and
mm.
stuff. And there was this new they got this new prison psychiatrist, and I don't know his name. I can't remember his name. Um, but he came to the prison
Hmm.
and he started doing Ho'oponopono. And he didn't see any of the patients, never saw not one of the prisoners. Okay. He sat in his office with their case files and he just did this Ho'oponopono prayer over their case files. And the concepts, the way they describe Ho'oponopono is if you have a glass of water and you put in blue dye, that's what we're like. And then if you run it underwater and the water starts to clean out the dye, the glass gets lighter and lighter, and then
Yeah,
by the end, the water's clear. So what
yeah.
you're doing with this prayer is you're clearing yourself and you're getting to a place of what they call zero limits. And you're doing this also by taking 100% responsibility and accountability for everything that is in your life. And
Hmm.
you are the common denominator between you and everything that you're witnessing. So this
Yeah.
psychologist, the common denominator between these prisoners that were criminally insane was him. And he took full responsibility for their behaviors and their actions. Like he
Mm,
took responsibility for the rape, for the murder, and he was doing clearing on himself because
mm,
he's the common denominator in this whole thing.
yeah.
And he's doing this clearing work. And over time, and it wasn't even that long of time, prisoners started to heal.
Mm,
The staff was coming to work, the morale improved, and prisoners started to be released. Like they were actually healing and were getting released. And eventually they closed down the prison
wow.
because they had healed everybody. And
Wow.
so he has taught Ho'oponopono, and he's even partnered with Dr. Joe Vitale on a bunch of different things. But I had heard
Did
about it.
he have a book that he wrote himself?
Yeah, it's called. He has many books now, but he
Not Joe
read,
Vitale, but the person who did the
I do think
Ho'oponopono.
so, and I
I think
think
he
he
has a book. I just can't remember his name. But you could look up Ho'oponopono, H O apostrophe O Ponopono.
yeah,
What
yes.
does it sound like? Let's hear it.
Well, it's actually just a repeating of four
Oh,
phrases. You
wow.
literally just say, you say, "I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you, and I love you." You repeat those four phrases, and I have the beads that I got from India because you want to do it at least 108 times.
Yeah.
and you want to do it at several times a day. I've only been doing it in the morning.
Yeah.
Sometimes I try to do it later, but I haven't been consistent, but I do it every morning. And
Mm.
I started doing it because my younger brother's an alcoholic and he doesn't want help, and there's nothing I can do to help him. And I
Yeah.
figured if, this healed these prisoners, maybe this could help heal him. And so I started doing Ho'oponopono, and I started to take accountability for my brother's drinking and how I feel about, the emotions that I feel about his drinking and all these things. And it was
Yeah.
interesting because 4 days later, my cousin called me, and she had said that my younger brother reached out to her and said that her husband was an alcoholic and he died, but she had pills that help wean off alcohol, and my
Mhm.
Yeah.
younger brother requested those pills. And I was
Oh.
like, oh my gosh, Ho'oponopono is working. And then
That's beautiful.
Ooh, that's
called back,
juicy.
and then a week later she called back and she said, I texted him to get his address and he said, forget it, I don't want him. And I was like,
That's okay
so
though. That's a step. I
It
mean,
is a
it's
step.
the
something.
process is not easy. It doesn't just like go
Something.
along a flat line or
I know.
a upward trajectory. It can go woo, up
It's
and down.
something. I will say that in doing the Hopo, and I've only been doing it for, I would say maybe 2 months now, but my stress level has decreased substantially.
Mm.
Like I feel like I've gotten to a new, like I have a little bit of anxiety that still exists with me that it's like the first thought I wake up and there's still that stress and anxiety. And it's so much better than, I mean, it was 5 years ago, 4 years ago, 3 years ago, and it's getting better as I'm clearing and healing. And I feel like in the last few months with Ho'oponopono, like I've had some things financially happen. Like I haven't paid my taxes in 2 years. Finally, I got a letter from the IRS saying like you need to pay your taxes.
Yeah.
And um, and like I've been living
Stop the
off of
war. No, I'm kidding.
because I've been on this journey and haven't been as focused on my business and making money, I've been living off of savings and retirement and, like
Yeah.
draining these accounts. And at some point, I made this conscious decision when I was like, okay, do I start tapping into retirement or do I go back to my corporate job? I started to say, this journey is way too valuable. I'm all in. And if I
Yeah.
have to spend every single dime, and maybe that's part of my learning lessons that the universe has in store for me, I'm all in. I'm still all into this journey because like when I came back from India last year, I felt like, or even when I was in India, I was in the ocean. It was a day where there was no wind, there was no waves, and I'm lying in the ocean, like floating, and the sky is blue, eagles are circling, the palm trees are swaying in the wind, and I
Mm.
literally felt like I was in God's hands, like in the
Yeah.
palm of God's hands. And I realized that this is the feeling that we should be getting. This is the feeling I should have every single day. This is what they say. Feel that joy now. Like you don't need to wait for that joy. Feel it now. And I got to that place where I understood that feeling of joy. And
Mm.
since I came back, every day has been a feeling of joy. And I feel like I've crossed the Rubicon. Like I'm out of the fire now. Like I've done the hard work. Doesn't mean the work stops because it goes
Yeah.
on forever. But I feel like I've done the hard, heavy lifting. And now I'm through the wilderness. And now I'm super inspired because now I also feel like I have this playbook on how to live life. And I realize what it's now all about. So that's
Ooh.
a very exciting place to be. And yeah, so
I mean, that's beautiful to hear. I love the like it's very inspiring, I guess, like most people who just hear about yoga or any of this stuff that we like talk about that they don't it's like so hard to explain, but it's like they see the postures, they see meditation, or they see like, maybe we're like smiling a little bit more in our interactions with like our friends and family and stuff like that. But how like it's like flexibility and strength where it's like okay you do your lifting, you go through like your bulking phase or whatever, and like even if you were to like stop or you to do it a little bit less frequently or you to kind of change like your fervor with it, like that strength, that flexibility kind of stays with you. Now it's just sort of maintenance work. And it's interesting like to hear you say even in your morning routine like and same thing with me too, and is like it's continuously evolving because like as you get deeper in the rabbit hole of um doing the work or however we want to phrase it, like you get introduced to new people, you get shown new techniques, you know, okay, maybe no screens 2 hours before sleep, okay, let me try that now, okay, maybe I shouldn't do this or do that. And like I guess you could say like you're sort of like, okay, I did ayahuasca or I did this or I did that, and it was you get to experience like these different levels of bump upness, so like less stress, or more tools
Mm.
available, or like sort of like this more easeful experience of life. But then it's like as you get to that level, then like the the things that used to stress you out, like let's say not having security, like these, like you're saying, like traveling through Costa Rica, being in India, like now you're in like hypothetically more stressful experiences than you would have ever been comfortable with in like say your previous life in the corporate life, where like no, I can't just do this and not have certain things like clearly delineated for me. But as you get like further down the path of like, okay, you are the sense of security in a way, like, you know, your practices are what's keeping you grounded, and that like everything else is just like everything else really is a mystery, and your practices help keep you grounded. So as the practices advance, I guess you could say, right? So it's like, okay, you're drinking water, now you're going to be more hydrated, and now you're doing the prayer. It's like it's also like there's also going to be a correlation between like the amount of chance in your life. Like I wonder, like this is kind of what I'm trying to say, like when we're rigid in our lives and we're rigid about our thinking, like we almost aren't even we aren't even able to take those adventures that God wants us to take, because our minds aren't even allowing us to see these adventures. Like I bet you all of our lives before like we became more awakened, like you get these urges like, nah, Quentin, you should consider like moving or doing something different. I'm like, well, I can't move. I'm gonna lose my job. And you do like this thinking, and it keeps
Yeah.
you from that feeling. But then you reach this point where it's like, no, I'm gonna go with that inner voice. I'm gonna go with that voice. And then next thing you know, that voice is leading you to feel like you really are in connection with God. Like, and then you can go back and you're like, wow, I have this experience of like listening to that voice, and then maybe it's like this crazy adventure I go on, but this adventure will be full of moments that are opening up my worldview and giving me that sense, that real sense of divine security, that like that gives you that confidence to move forward in your life in the future. Like I don't know what's gonna happen, but I do know that like God's got my back, and like He's not putting me in situations that I can't handle. Like I've been in, for you, you've been in Costa Rica. I don't know how much Spanish you speak, but I'm assuming like, like assuming like not super fluid, and like I feel like, you know, we can go on and on stories like this, but like throughout our lives where you're in this strange land or you're in this strange experience, and then you meet someone who's like from Chicago, or someone that's familiar to you, someone that like can help you see it through. You have a guide. And I feel like and it was funny, I was just in Virginia, and Virginia really reminded me of this, like driving through Virginia, like you really can't see far ahead at all. Like it's like you only see like one hill at a time, then you're going here, the tree line, the hills, the winding roads, all that stuff. Like that is what life is like. Like I
That is a
don't,
perfect metaphor for life. And you know
yeah.
what? The thing is that what keeps us stuck is this idea that we need to be able to see the whole landscape, but you
Hmm.
don't. You only
Yeah.
need to see a couple steps ahead of you, and the rest will reveal itself. Because the other thing is, too, I don't even know that I don't even know that the whole landscape is already mapped out, because we have
Mm.
free will. And
Yeah.
again, if you go to this theory that life is a matrix and we're living in a simulation and there's all sorts of fractals, and any change will change the direction or trajectory of your life, and there's a
Yeah.
limitless amount of timelines happening,
Yeah.
you only see those first three steps because that's just the decision you're making. If you
Mm.
choose three steps in this direction, that's going to change the trajectory as well. So we
Yeah.
don't, I don't even know that the universe really has it all like late. Like, yes, if you stay on this timeline, this is why tarot card readers are actually indeed somewhat accurate. They're
Yeah.
actually reading your point in time, and
Mhm.
given if none of the circumstances change and you continue on this trajectory, this
Yeah.
is the probability of these things happening, or this is the likely outcome. But you make one decision that's different, it deviates, then you're now on a new trajectory.
Yeah.
And so
Ooh,
it's
I love that, Tammy. So
super,
beautifully
Yeah.
said.
super. I mean,
Ooh, that was good.
but this is why doing this work of healing also, like by releasing all of these feelings, you start to actually live life in wonder. And you're not so scared about everything. And you release this anxiety and this fear, and you're finally starting to enjoy life. Every day becomes joyful. And I know it sounds a little hokey or whatever, but when you've done the painful work and you start to feel this every single day and you start to realize, wow, like this is, and then you start to realize that the money is irrelevant because you're feeling like right now, I feel like I am a multimillionaire. Okay. Now, that does not mean that I still am not inspiring to, like,
Yeah.
I've been there once. I've spent it all going
Yeah.
on this journey, and I can't wait to the day that I write my post on LinkedIn saying, I've gone down this journey. I absolutely believe this was the right course. And now I plant the flag to tell you that I've now made more money in my business than in my Wall Street job. Like, I
Yeah.
still do want all that. I still do aspire to
Yeah.
have a multi-million dollar business, but it's for different purpose than it was 5 years ago.
100%.
It's not ego based as, like I'm still, if I were to lose everything, and I essentially somewhat have,
Yeah.
although not entirely, but I
Yeah.
mean, given up a lot, and I'm happier now than I think I've ever been. And I was never really like a miserable person. I was always pretty happy, but it
Yeah.
was also driven by so much that was external. And now it's a lot sort of simpler and doesn't require anything. Like just the state of being is a happier place every day. And like I just love the whole I do love like the living life in wonder. I mean, it's just been sort of amazing. Yeah,
Tammy, one of the things that Shanda would always say, Shanda Sumner, by the way, if I think I've mentioned her before, but she's the owner of Heartcore Business and Heartcore Leadership, along with her husband Ash Gandhari. Shanda would say, and I don't know if this originated with her, sorry if this quote goes to somebody else, but she's the one who told me, so I heard it from her, was that the amount of money you make is directly correlated to the number of lives you touch. And I think that's why we also have this longing for our business to be successful, because we know that the success is not the number of dollars.
Yeah.
It's like the number of lives that we have affected, like the number of lives that we have been able to support and help and all of those things. And so when we have this longing for like, my business is going to make more money than it did in my Wall Street job, what we're really also saying is like, I have touched that
hmm
lives that this business is this successful. And I think that's a beautiful, God, it's such a beautiful thing to want to support and help that many people. I think there's a lot of people who have this like, I will touch a million lives, or I'm going to touch, a lot of people in our coaching world will
hmm
have goals, because it's not just a monetary goal. It really is like, I am going to have an effect and an influence on the world. And if my message isn't being heard, am I just like a tree falling in the woods, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So we want our message to be heard, and we want this to get out there in the world, because the world really, really, really needs positive messages right now.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
it's urgent. It's important that we get these things out there in the world. And
A
so,
100%. And what was interesting is I'm still in touch with pretty much all my clients from my first year in coaching. And I spoke to this one woman who went through one of my first programs, and she was diagnosed with bladder cancer, and she just had her bladder removed. And
mm,
when I
Wow.
spoke with her, she said she sounded fantastic. And I was like saying to her, I go, well, you may have had your bladder removed, but you sound amazing.
Yeah.
And like you're so positive and so strong. And she said to me, that was you, Tammy. She's like, you taught me that in the program. And this is like 5 years ago. And I mean, and I just talked to her like 2 weeks ago.
yeah,
And I was just like I got off the phone and I cried. Like when somebody tells you something like that, I mean, that's everything. Like,
Yeah.
yeah,
like and even talking to my clients, like, I didn't talk to him for a couple years, and then I just reconnected with a lot of them in the last 6 months, and they're all like, we watch you all the time, we're rooting for you. Like, the impact that I made on people in that first program, and when I was like still feeling uneasy and worried and not enough and all those feelings, they're like, really, I mean, I see how their lives have changed because of it.
Yeah.
And it just really inspired me, to really dig in and really, build this business in a way that really helps people. And now, I mean, when I was sick and I went to Costa Rica the week before I did ayahuasca, I had run into this woman. She was actually a transgender, but uh, and I didn't even actually realize that until later. And I was like, what? But anyway,
You got me.
to me, she was a woman. So she was a platinum album music arranger for like the big dogs, Michael Jackson, Alicia Keys, lived in Atlanta, Georgia. And she had written a book, and she just finished the book. And I ran into her, and I'm feeling depressed. I've been in my house for 6 months, and having this what I was calling a dark night of the soul. Like, I have no idea who I am. The world's going to hell in a handbasket. I went down every political rabbit hole. I'm seeing like things are collapsing. Nobody's going to want to coach. It's like Armageddon. And so she gives me her book, and I start reading it that night. And here I'm thinking it's going to be the music industry. And basically what she says in the book is that everything is a psyop and we're living in a simulation. And I'm like, okay, that's not helpful. It's not helping me. So then I have dinner with her and her entourage, and she's like, what's going on in your life? And I'm like, well, I'm having this dark night of the soul, and I'm explaining to her. And she says something to me that I will never forget, and I repeat it all the time. She says, when people wake up having their head buried in the sand to a world unrecognizable, they're gonna kill themselves. Like, and we see this, the suicide rate is the highest it's ever been.
Yeah.
And she's like, but you're gonna help them through because you're going through this now. And when you see and understand what's happening, you're gonna be able to connect the dots for them, and you're gonna help them. And
Yeah.
that immediately snapped me out of my depression, but it didn't give me clarity of purpose either. But I knew I had a bigger role. And even sort of the political that I went down, that helped me connect the dots on what's happening in the world politically, what it means to our metaphysical world, and how all of that interconnects, because none of that is mutually exclusive. It's all interconnected. And the
Yeah.
people who are running the world, they know these principles that we're learning in yoga, this manifestation. They understand energy. And this is why the world, in its third dimension, in its heaviest density, is designed as it is, in order to keep us angry, in order to keep us divided, in order to keep us stuck. Because if we truly knew the power that we have, which we've just talked about on this pod, I mean, that would be devastating to those global elites. And that is their hold on humanity is already, that's all collapsing. It's all falling away because we are rising in consciousness. We have more people that are awakening. We are all ascending and elevating, and they can't control us when we all ascend. That is why this work and the meditation and all of that is so critical to do. And I tell people all the time, because even when she had said this to me 2 years ago, all I knew for sure, because I didn't have clarity of purpose yet, all I knew, my message to everyone was, y'all better start meditating, because that is the one thing that is going to give you that mental resilience that you're going to need in order to get through where we're going. Because where we're going as a society is a total system collapse. And I truly believe that what's going to morph from that is going to be more beautiful and more pure, because the systems are corrupted and they're unsustainable and they're collapsing under the weight of their own corruption. So they're falling. And if you have eyes to see, you will see that they're falling. Nothing is working. our healthcare system, our education system. People aren't even going to college anymore because they're realizing the scam that is. More people are leaving corporate. More people started businesses during the year of COVID than ever in our history. I mean, all of it is coming down. And before it becomes this beautiful revival, it's going to be a painful birth. So if you're not preparing for that, you're going to be one of those people she talked about. You're not going to be able to navigate through that. And I see people calling me all the time and they're like, what is happening? Why is our government doing this? Why is this happening? Why? And when you start to realize what everyone's role is in all of this, then you start to realize that then you actually can sit back and enjoy it. Like, I'm at a point where I'm just like, nothing can hurt me now. And I'm like sitting back and watching with popcorn. Like, this is the most interesting time to be alive. I'm so blessed that I'm here.
Yeah.
So
I love that you're comparing it to a Matrix. Like, Quentin and I often talk about it being like a video game. So life is a video game essentially, and meditation is one of the tools you use to like level up to the next level.
Yeah.
And so I don't want people to like just sit in the fear, because the fear can be really overwhelming, and you can look at what's happening and just really believe that this is what it is. And so one of the things that we talk about is like, this is the Maya, this is the illusion, this is the fun. Remember, self wants to experience itself. And so in order to experience itself, it has to be fun. And what is better than the most juicy, crazy? I mean, if you were watching a movie of our reality, it's the best movie ever. It's so good.
Really,
Everybody like buying tickets and being like, that was the best movie I've ever seen. So just remember that, like, that's why often, Swami Satchidananda would say, be in the world, but not of the world. Remember that you can engage in this, but don't think that your peace, your joy, your security is tied into all of this superficial stuff that's happening out in reality or out in the world, or, quote unquote reality. That honestly, like, and that's why the meditation is so important, because it's in that silence and that peace that you get in touch with that inner self, that then you're like, oh, I am part of something bigger and greater. I am connected with a higher consciousness. I don't have to be afraid as I'm watching the ups and downs. I can ride the waves, right? And be the surfer on the waves. And then when you step out of that, which is what Tammy and I were really talking about in our personal conversation the other day, is that you can step out of that chaos anytime you want. And so you can be part of it, and it's totally fun. Like, let's be engaged and let's be like, oh my God, the conspiracies. Like, oh, it's so fun to like, it's like gossiping, right? It's so funny and like, oh, get all excited. But then you have to be able to step back out of it and say, however, my inner peace is here inside me. And so I don't have to be afraid. And that's part of, coming from somebody who forgot that, very seriously forgot it, and wanted to check out so bad. I attempted suicide, that I was like, I got to check out of this world. I can't do it anymore. It's too intense for me. I had forgotten that I could step out of it. At any given moment, I can step out of it and be like, okay, my security is here inside me. The peace, the joy, that is inside me. I don't have to look outside for it. And when you continually remember that, one of the things that was very challenging for me at that time was that when I was in meditation, I would remember. But when I had to step out of meditation and engage with the world, my mind was being so crazy that it was really hard for me to have that disengagement. So that's where we have a lot of the practices now where you can do like somatic yoga, work that trauma, calm the nervous system down. The training of the mind, chanting is a really great thing. Chanting is a great way to bypass that. So like if you're sitting and you're like, okay, I get it when I'm sitting in meditation, but then I step off the mat and all of a sudden I'm watching the news, or not even choosing to watch the news. It's just coming at me because that's what it does now. It just comes at you from everywhere. You can be standing in the grocery store and suddenly like the news is just like, throwing itself at you. So anytime that's happening, You can also use these other tools, right? You can use the chanting, and the chanting will adjust the vibration in your body to really bring you back into that sense. You can use yoga, the body, the movement, could be Tai Chi, could be, yoga, could be any of those, like smooth moving the energy through your system. Quentin often talks about martial arts also and how that can move the energy through your system. But you have tools where you don't have to be like so fearful and engaged. As soon as you start feeling that fear come up where your security is like shaky, it's just a sign that you need to step back out of it for a minute and be like, okay, I started taking the game just a little too seriously. I started really thinking the Matrix was real. It's okay. Just step back out of it and say, it's okay. I got this.
Well, the interesting thing about sort of the matrix and even the fear, and this is again why it's so imperative to do the work, is because it's the fear on an individual and collective level that is creating the chaos that we're seeing.
Yeah.
So it behooves you to actually stop choosing fear, because these are choices, and you have those tools to help you pull out of that fear, but know that you are creating the reality that we're living in. And you having the news on is also a choice. Like, shut it off. And what's interesting is, I'm watching Instagram, and I was in New York City, and it was like some kind of flood was happening or something was happening on the subway, and I was literally in the subway station that they were reporting that this was happening. And I was like, I'm right here and I see no water. Like, what is this? I was just like, this is fake news. I'm literally in the same subway station that I'm looking at on the video. And I'm just like, this is all such bullshit. And then I realized at that point, I'm like, you know what? I'm going to shut it down for a while. And because I often sometimes like to see, like, I see the world in a certain way, but not everyone sees this happening. Like, I'm like, at one point I was like sort of hair on fire. Do you not see this or whatever? And then when I shut all of it down, I'm like, is any of this really happening? Because I look outside my window, and I'm living in Jersey City, and you've got mothers, walking their babies in strollers, people walking their dogs. Like, none of this chaos that I'm seeing on, social media or in the news or whatever is happening outside my window. It's not happening in my neighborhood. Is it even happening, or is it being fed to us in order to induce fear? And so I realize, I'm like, if you just literally shut it off, it doesn't really exist. And, that's one way to pull yourself out of fear long enough for you to choose a different reality. And that's what's amazing about the Matrix, is no one's controlling it other than you and your consciousness. And that is where you can take your power back. When you start realizing that it's not Elon Musk sitting there with his controls controlling the Matrix, it's really you and us, and you can choose. And again, I keep going back to the inner work, because the more you can clear, emotional baggage and fear and let go of those things, the more pure and the more joyful and the more loving your emotions will be. And then you begin to create a reality that matches those feelings. And I look, a good barometer is like, what's going on in your immediate world. Like, even things like you're driving to work and all of a sudden you spill your coffee and then you stop the car short and then somebody hits you. Okay, that's that inner chaos that needs to be cleared out. If you're one of these people that is constantly attracting bad shit happening, that is a sign that there's clearing work that needs to be done. And we all know those people. We all know those people that just constantly attract chaos. And I think that that's like when things are going peacefully.
I've been in that myself. I mean, it's not just all of us have been in those cycles where you're like, you wake up and like it's always like the stub your toe thing. You stub your toe getting out of bed, and then your whole day turns into chaos. And like, so we've all been in those cycles where we're like, I created such a chaotic time.
Yeah, but having that accountability is, this goes back to the Ho'oponopono. When you start to realize that you've created this and it's your responsibility, and now you need to clear it, whether you do it with this Ho'oponopono prayer or you do it with just by waking up and allowing yourself to feel the feelings, not running from them, not like, oh, I feel stressed, I got to get up and, get my day going so I can forget about this. No, allow yourself to sit in those feelings and allow yourself to feel them and let them pass through. and let them go. And you can also ask yourself, where are they coming from? Why am I feeling this way? What is it reminding me? What is the trigger? Like, why am I feeling this way? And then it just passes through, and you can let it go. And these are all techniques that we can use to heal ourselves. And I think that it's really important that we do this work because, again, we create the reality we're living in. And if we want a world that's peaceful and harmonious, then it's going to require, all of us to do that work. And we're all interconnected.
You can't
So
have
it's
peace outside if you don't have peace inside.
no, no, no. And we're all connected. So, you suffering contributes to my suffering. We're all in this together, and there is no, everyone is connected.
I like
So,
how you said, I like how you used the word or like passion. Passion keeps coming to mind because, like, it's one thing to like your life. It's one thing to be like, okay, everything's cool, but it's another thing to have like passion, like to wake up in the morning and feel like even if I lay down, I feel passionate, or even if I'm doing nothing or if I'm doing something, I still feel like this passion to be alive and enjoy myself. Like I have the same amount of passion to go take a nap that I do to like, have a meeting that I do to like do my journaling that I do. It's like this, but then at the same time, passion so often can go into panic. Like if things don't
Mm.
go well, it's a quick transition. Like I'm passionate about it. It's not going according to plan. Now I'm panicking. And I think like what we're saying, these are all ultimately tools to fight panicking, like to counteract panicking and some of the mental um not detriments, but like some of the side effects that come along with panicking, like what you're saying, the news, like, I mean, oh my God. I mean, I feel like almost all the stories are fake. That was like my great awakening when I'm sitting here, I'm listening to this podcast and I'm like, they're just reading. Like you can just tell they're reading off of a piece of paper. This is not like this is so and so reporter, and then they're saying these are their opinions. It's not their opinions, and you're on the news. It's not. That's not really what they think.
no,
And
no.
so, um, yeah, like realizing that, like, and also not allowing your passion to get manipulated. Also, like we all, and I think like one of our baseline passions that we talk about, Swami Satchidananda and all of us, is like, we want to have a peaceful, easeful, like we want to have a happy life. We want to be productive in meaningful ways. We want our opinions to be heard and respected. Even if they're not followed, at least you have that sense of, no, you heard me out, and like that dignity. And we're all very passionate about that. And then it just seems like to keep us disconnected, the opponent, if you will, like whatever level of opponent that is, quote unquote, in this game called life, like they use like different counter strategies. And I think another thing that you brought up that was really dope that a lot of us don't always say enough is that like, yeah, like there is opposition that is wise. Like, in order to be a very good opponent, you have to know all the moves. Like I say this to Rada, like if I'm trying to choke you out in a fight, like you have to know how to counter that choke. So and I gotta grab the arm, I gotta spin and roll, I gotta do this and do that, and that like in our society, like and with this great awakening, more and more of us are being cognizant of how like our mental faculties can be used against us. Okay, no, it does matter what you watch before you go to sleep. Oh, this sense of always wanting, this consumerism actually can contribute to like a sense of depression and a sense of lacking, and how that can harm our society. And as I think as we as a society level up, like you've been saying, I also do notice that like the opponent's also gonna target the transitions. Okay, like all right, as you're getting back on your feet, Quentin, Tammy, Rada, we're gonna hit you with this. That's why like right after meditation, like literally, I think it was like the other day. I was like, I got right out of meditation, and I'm over here trying to not eat cookies all the time. Like I tell Rada this, and then it's like I'm getting a call. Like I got some cookies for you. I got some stuff for you, and how like so like part of the game is like standing up for ourselves. I think in the corporate world it's very obvious, and like being in the CEO mindset that you have, like part of the CEO thing is you can't run from problems. You got to turn around and face the problem and then tackle the problem. But I think like in life, everything is sort of that same thing. We have to almost promote ourselves internally to CEOs of our lives, and of our experience in a safe way. Like every CEO knows that not everything's under their control, but they do
Mm-hmm.
know that what they say matters. It has an influence. People will act and things will move. And I think understanding that on a invisible level, right? If I sit here in this morning meditation and I pray for my wife or her father or you or I might not be able to see it, but I know that as a CEO, as this universal being, as this powerful force, like no matter what, it'll have an implication. And like I think that's like another big reason, and this is what I try to share in my classes, is like you will certainly have some benefits from this practice, right? You might get a little bit stronger, a little bit more flexible, a little bit more detox, like whatever. But ultimately, like you'll get even more benefit when you dedicate this to someone else, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I'm doing this meditation. Yes, I want to have a clear mind, but if my brother can be healed of his alcoholism, like how beautiful would that be in addition? And I think like for all of us that are passionate about the world and politics and geopolitics, like that panic energy will keep you from doing the practices. It'll keep you in this sense of, oh, there's nothing I can do. All I can do is run away or just like, but that passion energy, like I'm passionate about this play. Like I know it's just a play. When I want to be passionate about it, I can be. My role in this play is X, Y, and Z. I know that because my heart's saying to fight or fly or defend or whatever. And but at the same time, you can step back and be like, hey, look, I'm not really. This isn't even about me. Like I know I have this heart. It's not my heart. I didn't choose to have this heart. I didn't choose to have the interests that I have. Like, but I have them, and like if I don't exercise them, then like I'm not really like fulfilling my life to the highest magnitude. And like as you're saying, like even not living in alignment really adds to that system that you're so not you but people are afraid of, that we panic against, like living in out of alignment, working for that corporate job, working for Raytheon or working for whatever, or work, this thing is actually contributing to that with what you might be panicked about. And I've met
Yeah.
so many people who are in our world, they're being introduced to yoga, they're being introduced to certain plant medicines, and at the same time they work corporate jobs, right? They live in this system, they support this system that they also see is hurting them. And but I love how you're saying it's like what I've also found too, like Rada and I have talked about it, like as soon as you have a mental and a heart shift slash realization, like your external circumstance will change, right? You start to get introduced to these different philosophies, and then now maybe your heart doesn't really fit that corporate setting or that previous business that you're in, and then like I got fired suddenly too, like sort of not in the same situation, but sort of along the same lines where like this is good for me, but then it's like no, as soon as you recognize, no, my heart is looking for something beyond this, something different than
Hmm.
this, and your circumstance will change immediately. And so the last thing I'll say on that is like Swami Satchidananda used to say this, or at least I heard him. I read this in the book where it was like, as soon as the karma is resolved, as soon as like all your life you're building to want to do this, but as soon as that's like resolved and taken care of, the situation changes like in a second. And I think that's very hopeful for us in our life. Like a little political here, like Donald Trump, that came out of the blue for a lot of people. Like him being president, it came out of the blue. The next president, the next politician, the next thing, like it can come like that in a second. And your solution that you've spent all this time panicking about can come like in 1 second. And I think and I think you have a lot of lived experience like in Costa Rica or these different experiences where like just in the nick of time, like salvation comes, a blessing comes. And like it happens so often that it is like logical at this point to feel that way about the life. Like, okay, if I do my practices, if I change my ways, if I change my perception, there will be an immediate result. Like, it might not be what I think it is, but something will immediately shift. And I think it's
Mm-hmm.
like very hopeful for all of us in this generation who want to build a better world to like truly believe that, like, yeah, our practices, our intention, our prayers, like, they do have an impact. And our frequency of doing them does have an impact, and like our intention and our passion does have an impact. And so like thank you for like reminding me of that today as you're like telling me about your life story and all the experiences you've been through, that like yeah, like there really is a force behind the scenes pulling pulling the strings and keeping us alive. I think Rada might not mention it today, but even when she did try to kill herself, like she was kept alive, and and so yeah, like just letting go, being passionate, but letting go of the
Hmm.
result, understanding
Yeah.
that like, hey, it's gonna happen either way. Um,
Yeah, and choosing not to participate. Like, I
mm,
mean, as someone who ran for office, you know, so I have a lot of like still political friends and things like that,
yeah,
and I get invited to events, and I've gone to a couple events even recently or whatever, but
yeah,
I'm not participating in this anymore.
yeah,
Like, oh yes, you're my friend, so I'll support you kind of thing, but I'm not giving it any emotion. I don't care. I see that it's all fake, and I'm not even going to vote again. Like,
yeah.
unless I see something that's substantially changed, but as far
Different.
as I'm concerned, the whole thing is rigged. And to your point of Donald Trump, we created Donald Trump with our consciousness. So you have the
100%.
people who are living in fear and, oh my God,
100%.
he's horrible, he's Hitler, he's this. We created the fear, the villain, Donald Trump. And then you
Yeah,
have the people who love Donald Trump that believe that he's the savior. So they created the
yeah.
savior with their consciousness. So
Mm, amen.
however you view him, you created him. But he
Yeah,
also has a specific role and a purpose in all of this. Part of what I see his role is the destructor, like is
yeah,
to take a sledgehammer to a system that's already crumbling in order to expedite its collapse. So I love him
yeah,
or hate him, whatever. I do see that as his
yeah,
role. And again, it's coming, it's happening, whether I wanted to or not. I'm not changing it. So because again, it's the collective consciousness, and this is what is happening.
yeah,
But I am doing, the work that I need to. I'm detaching from any outcome, which is also part of the tools that you have in the toolbox, is
yeah,
not giving these things power.
yeah,
Like you're saying, this your opponent has this, tactics or whatever. Well, you can choose not to participate. Like someone said to me, if things are going to get really bad and there's going to be civil war in the street, are you going to get a gun? And I'm like, no, because I'm really not going to kill anyone. Like I
yeah.
just can't see myself doing that. Like I once killed a pigeon with a BB gun, and I
Yeah.
still haven't gotten over that. I don't really. Okay, and I'm not opposed guns. Like
Yeah.
I'm
Right.
all for Second Amendment and all of it. Although when that was written, the government didn't have stealth bombers and the capacity that
Yeah,
uh,
yeah.
and the weaponry that they have now. But so I don't think your gun's going to really help if they're really coming for us. Um, but I'm not killing anyone, and in fact, that's not even going to happen in my world. Like
Yeah,
there's certain things that I believe just don't exist in my world. Like I don't lock my door when I leave because people don't steal from me. Like I
yeah,
have like these
Mhm.
beliefs, and that's where I choose to live. Now, am I delusional? Usually not, but I think more people would probably say somewhat yes in the last few years. But, I've read so much and I've studied so much that if you're someone who just gets your information from the news and you think that I'm so out there in terms of what I know and what I believe, like, it's not really a comparison. Like,
yeah,
you can't really give a fair assessment when all you're doing is getting your information from the news, which is, a source of misinformation and disinformation. So, but choose to believe what you want. Again, if it's working for you, if you like feeling stressed and anxious about the world and you like, your Trump derangement. I mean, I
yeah.
believe Trump derangement syndrome is a perfect example that you have inner work to do because
Uh,
nobody should be so triggered by another. Like, I'm not that triggered by Adolf Hitler.
Yeah,
So,
you should
like,
be
I mean,
true
if you're
anyway.
that triggered by Donald Trump, that is a good measure that you have some work to do. So,
I love
but
for those of you who are like listening and can't see my face, my cheeks hurt so bad because I have been
it.
laughing for like an hour, like almost 2 hours straight right now. Conversation is so good.
I know it's so fun.
Oh,
So,
so fun. Um, Tim, you have brought so many cool things to the conversation.
thank
Like,
you.
so fun, so good. I want also, I would be remiss if we didn't give you an opportunity also to tell people how to find you
Yeah,
and if they want to learn more from you or read your book or whatever. Can you give us a little bit of information uh,
Yes,
about
yes.
all that too?
Yes, so I'm Tamara Lashchyk on every social media platform. I the best way if you want to reach out is through LinkedIn message. Connect with me there and reach out to me there. I am on Instagram. I do respond to people who comment and message me there, but it's harder for me because I have a couple of Instagram accounts, so sometimes I'm not in the right one or whatever, but
Yes.
the LinkedIn is the best way. And in
Cool.
terms of the book that I wrote years ago, I mean, that's called Lose the Gum, A Survival Guide for Women on Wall Street, Main Street, and every street in between. But if you really want to do more work and if you want to buy a book that's going to help you, I recently written something called Empower Her, the Money Mindset Journal. And it's available on Amazon. And that is all about confronting your money wounds. And it's set up like a journal. So there's questions and exercises. And it's really designed to help you really confront and uncover your feelings, your relationship. I mean, I say this all the time. Your relationship with money is more important than your understanding of financial mechanics.
Yeah.
So this is what I've learned from my 26 years of finance and doing deep money work for over a decade. It is more important to heal the money wounds, to free yourself from money as a lever of control, than it is to understand financial principles. So if you heal that, you will already be better off. And, it's set up like a journal so you can, write and work through the issues. But I've set it up so that you can understand how money works, money being a frequency, and the emotional charge you're giving it is based on some kind of childhood wound or experience that you've had. And that is what is keeping you stuck. And if you don't address these come with us forever until they're cleared. So it's important work to do if you want to start living freely as an autonomous human, because again, money is the biggest lever of control in our society.
You also are doing some coaching with women now, teaching them negotiation. Will you talk a little bit about that too, about like how you support women with that?
Yes, I'm teaching women how to negotiate, and negotiation is really when you're underpaid, I believe that is a symptom that you're playing small in every aspect of your life. And so the course on negotiation, while I will teach you how to negotiate, it is really a proxy for helping you step into a bigger role altogether, because the tactics and strategies that you need to in order to have a successful negotiation, things like researching and gathering all the information that of the accomplishments that you've done, positioning yourself in a way that showcases the value that you bring, looking and researching your job, and finding out how much your job is worth, not only in your company, but in the street, so that you have that leverage that you can go into the negotiation, and you and your energetic frequency vibrating to the energy, to that dollar amount that you want to ask for. Meaning, if you make 50,000, but you want to ask for a raise bringing you to 70,000, but you really feel like you're worth 50,000, you're not getting that $70,000 raise. That's not
Yep.
happening. So
Yep.
you have to do that work, clearing whatever it is, that baggage, those wounds that are holding you back at that $50,000 number, and bring yourself to that dollar amount that you want to ask for. And that's a little bit of a process. So this is what I'm teaching. This is what I'm showing women how to do. And it's really a first step into playing a bigger game and preparing people and giving them that mental resilience that they're going to need to prepare for what's coming. I mean, we didn't touch upon this, but with the AI, I mean, like
Yeah.
I've been talking about this for 5 years, like, this is what's coming. We're in the layoff economy right now. So you want to
Yep.
position yourself, and I feel like this negotiation program gets you in the right mindset so that you're well positioned in order to face what's coming, and it gives you the best option to be the one who doesn't get let go, like, because there are going to be people that are going to be managing the AI, and you want to sort of maybe be in that, or you want to start thinking about, okay, what is my plan B? And all of that will get those wheels in motion and start preparing you for what is coming, because it's coming.
Yeah.
Actually, it's already here. So
My
yeah,
friend just got laid off like a week ago. Just
I got
like
friends who
yeah.
get laid off every single week. So it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when.
Yeah.
So this is all about getting your ducks in a row and starting to get you ready for, it's almost like like a boot camp, I would say.
And if
Cool.
someone's interested in this program, do they find you on LinkedIn or do you have a website?
I have a website. It's tamaralashchyk.com. You can reach out to me through LinkedIn. I can talk to you more about it. And I'm hosting a master class. I think the next one is Wednesday. The link in my, it says it on my LinkedIn banner when the next master class is and how you can register. And also there is a link in my bio on Instagram, and you could go there and sign up. That's free. The master class is free. So, and it's called
Cool.
Command Your Worth.
Oh, so good.
Well,
It just ties into all the stuff that we were talking about of like, I am enough. I create my own reality. I am a co-creator with, the higher power, all of these things that really tie into being able to, it's just a tool, right? Negotiation as a tool. But the
Exactly.
underlying stuff is showing that you've done the work and you really are resonating with this energy. So,
Yes. Yes.
oh, so exciting.
beautiful.
So
I'll put
exciting.
all that information in the description too for those of y'all listening and want to reach out. That'd be
Thank
fun.
you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Um,
It was great.
we love to wrap it up with just giving a few little tips or tricks and practices that we do. So, is there one specific practice? I know you mentioned Ho'oponopono, and you've mentioned. Oh, we never even finished your whole
Yeah, we
morning
never
routine.
finished.
I
Maybe we could.
Can we go back to your morning routine? I'm sorry, we're not going to end without giving you guys her morning routine. Will you just?
so
We're going to be quiet and let you just finish your morning
it's
routine.
very brief. So right after Ho'oponopono, so I do the water, the Ho'oponopono, and then I meditate for 30 minutes. And then after that I go to the gym.
Beautiful.
So
So, what is one of your favorite, just like little snack practices that you do that really gives you a lot of value in your day or in your life?
one thing that there's sort of a couple that I do. One thing that I learned, like when you're feeling stressful and stressed and anxious during the day, a self hug and rubbing your arms really helps very quickly. So
I want to do that right now. We're just going to self hug right
I
now.
know a self hug,
Mm.
a self hug.
I love that.
Yes, and I started doing a couple months ago. I started doing. I'm a member of Mind Valley,
Hmm.
and there was a sonomic breathwork course, and I didn't do any of the modules other than the first two. And the first one is increasing your breath hold time. So it teaches you how to increase your breath hold time, and
Yeah.
you do that first, and then you go into what's called the daily practice, where this guy, he's from India, and he developed this, and it's to music. So you're doing breath work to music, and then at one point you hold your breath for a really long period of time, like a minute, and it basically like releases all sorts of endorphins. And I remember the first day I did it, it's only a 20-minute meditation. The first day I did it, afterwards I went to the park, and I was so happy that it almost scared me. Like I was like, I like just feel super high without any real reason, and I was like, it's almost scary, like
I
how
love
good I
that.
feel. And so
Wow.
whenever I need an energetic shift, I turn on that meditation from Mind Valley, and I do it, and it's like again 20 minutes, and
Mm.
it's just incredible,
Yeah, it's beautiful.
incredible, and it taps into an inner like your inner pharmaceuticals, like it's healing. I mean, it's just incredible. So I would say that does it for me.
Of that somatic breath work is powerful stuff. Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
any kind of pranayama breath
Yeah.
work is amazing. Yeah.
100%.
Well,
Well,
Tammy, thank you so much for being here. This was such a wonderful conversation, such a joy.
mhm.
Thank you for being our first guest. I think you have shown us that this is definitely the direction we want to go in because this is so much fun.
Absolutely.
And I hope that you will come back and join us again sometime
Love to.
and talk more. This has just been absolutely delightful.
Yes, for me
Do you
too.
have any parting thoughts, either one of you?
I think I've talked enough.
Well,
I mean,
on that note, thank you all for
listen,
being here. Thank you for listening. We're
yeah.
grateful for all of you, and we look forward to being with you next time. Om.
Oh, peace, y'all. Thank you,
Um,
Tammy.